So we're live now. This is this hopefully will become a live stream on LinkedIn. So like any good start to a new venture, it helps if you do due diligence. And from what I understand, when I went to LinkedIn to go live, it takes several weeks for them to approve that concept. So we are recording this live today. And this is the new norm. My name is Curt Gemme. I'm with Sentry Commercial. And the new norm is a program that we are kicking off. And essentially what it's going to do is cover some topics in the area of commercial real estate and what we call allied professionals as well. So Scott Patterson has joined us. Say hi, Scott.
How are you? Happy to be the guinea pig on the inaugural show.
I appreciate that, and hopefully the audience appreciates it as well. So Scott Patterson is president and CEO of Patterson Maintenance. And when Mark Duclos, president of Sentry Commercial, and I were talking about this, we were getting and fielding a lot of questions relative to the new norm. What is the new norm? And obviously we want to keep it sort of towards our industry and what we're seeing. So we did a session on how the new norm looks in commercial real estate from a brokerage perspective. And I thought it would be great to invite you onto the show so that we could talk about what you're seeing in your space as the new norm, what you were traditionally prior to the crisis, and how you've evolved and are facing what we have today for challenges and looking at your business as well. So Scott, take it.
I'll tell you, our businesses in a lot of ways are very intertwined, obviously, because you're leasing space, and part of that space is cleaning. So, we're affected greatly by the market and what can happen in the market. I mean, you're hearing about shared office spaces. I'm hearing about companies which have certainly learned in the short term, very short term here, that you actually can pretty quickly work from home. You need a second printer. There are certain challenges, but we've all overcome that. So I'm definitely looking at office space declining in size, would be my opinion.
Sure.
I think we're trying to get ahead of the curve with our clients and say, okay, we're losing services essentially because we're losing square footage. But I also think we can offer other things as far as disinfecting, other essential new norm procedures, which we're hoping will fill the gaps in where we are now from heading.
It's interesting, you and I have existed in sort of the same timeline in terms of our careers and what we're seeing as having been a trend to more open sort of common space where, collaborative open workspace environments, where in the old days it was, cubicle and private office driven. I know we were seeing a little bit of a trend back towards that, but had not quite gotten there. So I'm not sure if the overall outcome requires more space because we need more space per person on a square foot basis as we send some people home to work from home and modify those existing structures. What are you seeing from the standpoint of your current client today, and how are they evaluating and looking at their physical space? And then we can talk about the psychological aspects of that as well.
Like I just said, I'll use one of my clients. I'll name Stanley Black & Decker, a large plant in Massachusetts, 11-acre building. That's all factory. They have another 100,000 square feet of office space, high-end office space, the front of the typical American factory. You walked in, the executives in the front. There's no one there in the front. Production, you walk in the back of the factory, let's say it's any other Tuesday. There's no difference. But I know from talking to that client, they're like, well, these people can all work from home. Maybe we don't need this huge front office. We're about to buy a building down the road. Maybe we'll just cannibalize part of the office, make it more factory. I mean, they own the building, right? They're not leasing, obviously, but
sure.
I see a lot of that happening, as I mentioned before.
Excellent. So let's talk about your company for a second. So how has...
Got to get the Cowboys in there. Sorry, guys.
No problem. I'm sporting a Red Bull here. So how has this crisis affected your business, your people, the whole work from home? I'm assuming some of your staff obviously didn't have that capability from a functional space perspective, in terms of, being out and cleaning and doing, actually performing what the duties that you guys perform. How did your office staff evolve in your organization? And what did you find from a technology standpoint that you embraced and enjoyed? And what are you keeping for the future, specific to how you run your business?
Well, our business, we have 150 employees, which are not in the office. I have a small office staff, a personal assistant, an assistant to her. So there's a couple of people in the office. People always think we have 150 employees. We have this massive office. We get it done. We're pretty efficient. I mean, I made a comment before. I'm running through printer ink. I tell my assistant Maria all the time because I don't have a laser printer. I don't have a standard printer like we all have at home. Our kids print their homework on. It's those little glitchy things that people are getting used to, I think. As far as how it affected our company, this whole COVID-19 thing, it's been the Wild West. It's been the gold rush for us. I mean, if you jumped on it and got these disinfecting contracts, we do electrostatic and also fogging procedures. It's been absolutely phenomenal. And for our staff, we've had some staff that were concerned about work. They had personal medical issues, were just scared. I think we maybe 8 or 9 people in our entire company either couldn't work because they had no childcare anymore because their childcare person now wasn't working for whatever reason. But everyone else that wanted to work, because the office components I mentioned definitely slowed down, they have other jobs doing disinfecting, making more money per hour. So it's been fantastic for my staff and my company. I have to say that. Out of a very bad thing, we've been very fortunate.
Excellent. So what is the, you talk about sort of a move from maintenance to sanitation or sanitizing. And what does that look like moving forward? I mean, there's technology out there. What are you seeing? What kinds of requests are you getting? And what is both a solution both to the chemical side of it, and then what's a solution on the whole optics side of it? What are you feeling and getting insight on?
I mentioned some of the procedures. We do disinfecting, fogging, or electrostatic work using CDC recommended chemicals, and there are a plethora. Go on the website. There's a ton of them that are effective. Virex is the most common because it has that name. I know 20 chemicals off the top of my head that are more effective than Virex, but there's a lot of good stuff out there. The optics part of it is very important, especially with the phased opening. Companies, I mentioned we have a lot of production facilities, I mentioned before. They've tried to stay open. So getting their people to come to work is an essential thing for them. So paying for those optics to have us show up like the Ghostbusters is the joke. We're in Tyvek suits and all that.
Sure.
It's very effective. The place has been sanitized. We feel comfortable coming to work. How long it's going to continue for? I mean, lighting money on fire is fantastic when it's going my way. I don't know how long companies will continue to do this, and things are going to transition. And there's going to be a lot of the new norm, to use that term, relative to our daily cleaning, wiping desks down, cleaning phones. It's going to be more focused on sanitizing, using the chemicals I just mentioned to do that kind of work. It's going to become part and parcel with regular cleaning. And then the joke I've made all along is, don't not wash your hands, don't touch your face. I tell my 5-year-old that, don't pick your nose and you won't get sick. So that's probably one of the most important things I hate to say.
So I did. That's great. I did read an article recently talking about the idea that the whole plexiglass concept, and it sort of speaks to what you're talking about from a sanitation perspective. The idea of plexiglass is more an optic than it is a real world solution. Have you dove in on that at all? You see a lot of plexiglass. I think between masks and gloves and or washing hands, sanitizer, etc. Does anybody really know what best practices is today?
No, that's the problem with this whole thing. And we'll look back in history, in my opinion, this could be the biggest what ever. And it was sped up by social media. I mean, everyone knows H1N1 killed far more people thus far than COVID-19 has. But it's been interesting. No one knows the best practices because if you look at the CDC, 3 feet away, we're saying 6 feet away. No one really knows. I'm interested, and people I think are very interested in finding out what really does work. Is wearing a mask and gloves the most effective thing? Then you don't need plexiglass. But right now, you can sell and move the goalposts out of fear. So a lot of that stuff I think is going to go away because I mean we can't live like Maxwell Smart in the cone of silence everywhere. It just is not gonna. It's just not gonna work.
Yeah.
I don't think that you're going to see that long term. I really don't.
Yeah. So do you see your today, your client base, just because of the optics, because of everything that's going on in the market, do you see an influx of opportunities that weren't necessarily there before?
Well, I mentioned to you off camera before that we're starting a radio campaign. Obviously, I mentioned production facilities. We have a ton of aerospace contracts. We go in and we blow these places out once a week, optics for the employees. Hey, we're having it sanitized. We send them videos every week, document the work. Now that things are opening up, I mentioned a local mall, an outdoor mall called Canton Valley Shops. Every retailer in there, that's our client too, and our contact. Yeah. They're referring us. We're going and doing all these smaller jobs, $200, $300 a piece, but they all add up. I see that as a transition where we're going to go, and a lot of cleaning companies are going to go as far as offering those kind of services. You're not going to have the $5,000 and $10,000 cleaning jobs every week. They're going to go away. Like I say, you just can't keep lighting money on fire.
So you feel over the course of time, then, more of a protocol and maintenance versus a one-time or one-off type.
Well, you see on TV companies advertising how they're handling touchless delivery for pizza, what have you. And if companies can say, we have some that's sanitized every day or every other day, and this is the company that does it, it's a great sell, again, those optics.
Yeah. And what when you and I talked before, you were touching on the whole UV lighting and robotics.
That's another thing. I'm actually putting 2 machines up on a client I mentioned to you before up in Mass, and they actually now they clean the floors, right? But they also are equipped with UV lights behind them and sanitize the floor immediately as you go over it.
So just so I'm reading your body language, when you start to spend money, do you normally kick back in the chair like that? I'm not trying to negotiate price with you. So come forward with me. Come forward. I felt like we were getting right down to the nitty gritty and pulling out.
There are a lot of new things, like you asked with the plexiglass. A lot of new stuff's being talked about. I had a conference call set up, which hasn't happened yet, with I forget his name from Command. Developed the Segway, trying to develop robotics with these UV lights to go into offices, because right now a hospital grade UV light could put in a building, it could do a couple thousand square feet max. You got to come in, you got to move the thing. That requires labor and time. If we had an automatic system with a robot sanitizing an office, my big concern is the legal aspect. I don't want to fry anybody. So we're doing our due diligence on that. But I think a lot of this, in my opinion, is going to settle down to regular sanitizing. There's going to be some UV light stuff. I don't know how prevalent that's going to be, because it can get expensive and it's also can be dangerous. Sure. And we will also learn, as we were saying before, not long ago, that we're going to learn more about this virus and how long it actually lives places. Right now, it's there for 2 weeks. Is it? People ask me all the time. I read the CDC website every day to keep up on it. I don't know, and they don't know either.
Well, that's why when we have the show and we're talking about the new norm, and I think it makes sense that we revisit this regularly, because it's a quick moving target, and organizations like yours and in dealing with real estate brokerage and space, whether it's office space increasing, office space decreasing, it's a quickly evolving target. So we'd love to have you back at a later date and share more of actual facts of what's happening, as opposed to hypotheticals, which is where we were certainly 2 months ago. I think it's evolving.
I think we're still in hypotheticals, because the nuance of how this thing behaves, or we're being told behaves, that's what changes day to day, hour to hour, and it's forcing people through fear to make decisions out of an abundance of caution, which is fine, but some of it has to stop. I mean,
exactly. So moving forward, relative to your business, perfect client in the sanitation, I call it, in the sanitizing area, could be really any size at this point. So, so we'd love to, we'll kick it up on the broadcast. We'll put the your web address in there and contact information, because part of providing and working with best practices is aligning with allied professionals like yourself that we know and trust in the market, that we can recommend to our clients and just anybody who's listening in on this broadcast today. So we appreciate your time. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
And look forward to to seeing you in the future.
All right. Well, thank you again, Curt. I appreciate it.
All right, Scott. We'll catch up soon.
Yep.